Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to not Moscow. I'm actually in Kaluga today. It's around about 200 kilometers from the center of Moscow, and I thought I'd come and do a supermarket tour, and it's right behind me. Let's go and check it out. I've been asked in so many videos that I need to go out further from Moscow to make a video at a supermarket. Now, Kaluga, where I am right here, is just on 200 kilometers from Moscow center. And I've come to the very famous Pyaterochka Supermarket, probably by far the most typical Russian supermarket that exists in all of Russia. And I thought together we can go and check out what a provincial supermarket looks like in Russia. I'm actually a little bit outside of the center of town, and it's very much a suburban area. You can see some very typical apartment blocks right here, and then lots of people who park their car in this nearby area. And then the supermarket right here, it's actually by a fairly busy street. Now, I did look up on the maps application ahead of time. There is 65 of these in the Kaluga region. 65 of these. These are very typical in Russia. And if you really haven't heard of Pyaterochka as a brand before, there is more than 20,000 of these spread out over all of Russia. So for me, this is as typical a supermarket as I can find for everybody. And the fact that I'm 200 kilometers from Moscow today, coming to make this video especially for you here on the channel. I don't think there's a single person in Russia who hasn't been to a Pyaterochka at some point. I would even imagine Russians come here multiple times per week. Even myself, I go to one maybe every second day. This particular store is open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. Plenty of trading hours. Now I'm going to try to do a full walk around without cutting and editing too much. So one thing that you notice when you first walk in is this lobby area. Basically, from coming from the cold outside to the heat, there's this small area. They have some small shopping baskets or shopping trolleys. And then the very typical way to shop in this store would be to get one of these small hand baskets. Now this metal table here is for when you're finished doing your shopping and you want to come and pack your bag before you leave. So you can put your shopping on the table, pack your bag and head on outside. Now we're going to walk in and do a nice tour of the store. And as you walk in, the first thing we see is fruits and vegetables, and then the rest of the store here on the left. Now with Pyaterochkas, depending on the size of the store you come to, they may have a bigger or larger selection of things and more choices. So for the fruits and vegetables, whatever is the current product of the season, mandarins, there's oranges, tomatoes, and there's a small fridge with some extra packaged items, and then you're able to then buy all of the other items by weight, so that it's by kilo or grams. You can even get pineapples 200 kilometers from Moscow. How tropical can we feel? Now I have come here in the morning time today, so perhaps some of the deliveries are not fully out on the shelves for the day yet. Depending on when the truck brings their deliveries, it may be in the morning or evening. Some promotions and specials. If you want to get a job here, you can go for it as well. Pyaterochka is also celebrating 25 years this year, basically, or actually just a couple of months ago. So it's really nice. They're promoting that they've been 25 years in Russia. And coming around to this back section, I've got a little bit of different products here on this first display. And then plenty of choices of bread. So this is all packaged bread that would come from a local bakery. This isn't stuff that's done in the store. They do actually have a small in-store bakery. And you can't quite see the ovens in the back there. Again, because I'm here earlier in the morning, they've not quite got everything out and prepared. But this is where I buy my very famous garlic bread if I come to a local Pyaterochka. And the other thing they've got, which is really nice, and this gentleman is pointing it out for everybody, is they've got an in-store coffee machine. So you can make yourself a coffee, and it's very reasonably priced. And then if you want to buy any kind of food that you want to heat and eat, they've got a microwave right there. And of course, they're always going to suggest you buy candy bars. That's not what most people want, but it's definitely available. They've got a very small section here with some refrigerated items. And I just want to point this out. I'm not sure if this is a Russia thing or not. They have magnifying glasses. And if you want to perhaps read some of the ingredients on the back, or maybe you're a little bit hard of eyesight, tell me, everybody watching, do you have one of those on the shelf in your local store? I'd be curious to know. I don't remember seeing them in Australia. They also have a water machine here if you want to bring your own containers. You can fill up the water. It's only 4 rubles a litre. So if you bring your own container, and you actually can bring coins and get your own water. There's what looks like a Pepsi fridge here. And of course, Lipton is one of their brands. So they're definitely still here, contrary to everybody thinking they've left. There's a small refrigerated section again. This has some frozen items in. And then all of the sachets, if you're going to do some cooking at home. Of course, I think everybody knows Heinz very well. One thing in Russia, they've always got a lot of choices of Heinz and different sauces beyond just the traditional tomato sauce right there. And I like that fact you can get 10 or 15 different types of Heinz. Different food here if you want to do some baking. Now with Pyaterochkas, depending on the one you go to anywhere in Russia, they're going to vary in size quite a bit. And also then the selection is increased or reduced based on the floor space of the shop. Get some dried fruit here, some nuts, and then the other side of the fruit and vegetable section, all of the classic vegetables. Plenty of choices of onions, potatoes, cabbage. And this is all by the kilo. And then this is the small canned food area. Very typically it's just corn, peas. They actually also have some canned fruit here. I'm not sure who eats canned fruits in Russia. I don't think they're particularly popular. And some of the different pickled vegetables. There's also some canned fish. It's not very popular here also, but some people will definitely buy it and eat it. Occasionally my wife buys olives in the cans. And then walking around a little bit more, I actually have an advertisement here for the 25th anniversary. They're doing lots of promotions. You can download an app to your phone and then also get points as you shop. So you can then get different promotional items, all the basic baking and cooking items, so salt, flour, I think sugar there as well. Yeah, it's all in one spot. The big 2 kilo bags of flour on the bottom there. Coming around, cooking oil, and then different grains and some rice. Very nicely stocked store. I wish where I live, my local Pyaterochka always looked this neat and arranged. I think depending on the staff that work in the store, there's a lot of the factor of how nice the stores can look when you come in. There's a price checker here. Nothing groundbreaking. Kids section with all of the children's needs. It's interesting how they bring everything together. So they've even got washing powder for the children and different foods, even children's water as well. So it's nice how they group it together. What do we have? Lots of chocolate choices and snacks. And then cereals, porridges and oats. So plenty of choices in this store. This is all the candy that's pay by weight. So you can scoop out however much you like and just pay by the gram. They do have bagged candy as well on the bottom there, but where you only want a little bit of a certain brand, you're not obliged to buy the whole bag of it then. Oh, let's check out the eggs. And what have we got? So I've got a few different choices. The classic box of eggs with 10 inside is right on 100 rubles, so just over $1 US, or right on €1 for 10 eggs. And there's some other types a little bit higher price. They don't have any 20 or 30 pack eggs. This is all you need, really and truly. That 100 ruble box is more than adequate. That's what I buy when I walk in the store. More sweets. And then there's a tea and coffee section. Now, one thing to note with this store, this can absolutely be your local supermarket, and you can do all of your shopping in this one shop. You know, there is absolutely one of everything that you'd want from a store. But the other option, of course, is to go to a larger, more traditional supermarket, if you want to call it that. The one thing that these stores work very hard to do is keep normal pricing. So even though they're open 7 days a week, they're open early morning till evening. There's no bias in the pricing because of that. There's some ready meals here. So if you want something just to put in the microwave, very easy. Also some salads. And then yogurts. Plenty of choices. Actually, now when I'm walking around, I'm noticing these magnifying glasses on all the shelves. And I think also it helps older people who may be a little bit hard of reading the packaging labels on the back. Milk, fairly classic bottle of milk for under $1 or €1. Even at 90 rubles, it's still under $1 for a bottle of milk. Let me know in the comments what you're paying for a carton of eggs, for a bottle of milk. I'm always very curious how expensive it is in other countries, and all of the classic deli items right here. And this store doesn't have the crazy selection of mayonnaise like some of the big hypermarkets do, but you've still got about 15 choices of mayonnaise. I always find it fascinating how many choices of a single product you can get even in smaller supermarkets like this. All the different meats and hams. Now, I literally go shopping in Pyaterochka every day or every second day, so this is second nature, walking into a store like this. My local one, I've actually got 3 of these stores within about a 5-minute walk of where I live. I've actually been to one of the factories that produces these fish house products. There's a couple of brands, one here, one over here. If you want to watch a video of one of the fish factories in Russia, there'll be a link coming up to watch that. I've got a little bit of refrigerated beers. The one thing I love to point out is this price of beer in Russia. Now, these are fairly classic, everyday brands, and you can get a can of beer here for less than 60 or 70 rubles, which would be about 60 cents or 70 cents US for a can of beer. And how cheap beer is compared to sodas and sugary drinks. And even if you compare the price against something like an energy drink, it's a fairly classic Russian drink right here, this apple juice. And that's 53 rubles. versus a can of beer for 50 rubles. And I find it fascinating, that variation in how cheap beer is compared to sodas and gas drinks or gassy drinks. Just walking around a little bit further, there's a fairly large beer selection here. And they also do very well in they put all of the beer snacks immediately where the beer is. So if you want some of these different fish items to eat with your beer, then it's right next to it, so it's a good suggestion. Also some Lay's chips on the next shelf down. Is this a new flavor of Lay's? I think it might be. Oh, prawn flavored Lay's. Look at the packaging too, that dark kind of black or brown colored packaging. I might have to get one of them and try it later. Plenty of choices of other brands of beer. If you want a bottle of Budweiser, less than $1 a bottle. If anyone's watching from America, let me know what you're paying for a bottle of Bud where you live. Be interesting just to make a comparison of the American pricing of beer and what the price of it is here in Russia. I'm coming around lots of different sodas and choices of fizzy drinks. And again, this will vary from store to store based on the size of the shop. So there'll be more in one store, less in another, depending on the shelf space. And then all of the items for cleaning and just general things that you need for your house. Packaging of toilet rolls. Zero is the one that we get the most. 140 rubles for a pack of 4. I always tend to go to a couple of different shops and just see what the special is of the week when we need some. I'm not a person that likes to run out and then run to the store to get it. And it's the personal care items. We've got more than enough choices. Again, this is very typical of a Russian supermarket. And I think personally, it doesn't matter where in Russia you go to a store, you're going to find the selection like this and how well stocked it is and all the choices. I mean, a lot of people want me to go 2,000 kilometers from Moscow, 4,000 kilometers away. And, you know, literally I'm only a few hundred kilometers and there is maybe a better stocked store than where I live in Moscow myself. Now, of course, vodka is incredibly well known as an exported item around the world. Might be interesting just to make a comparison of Stolychnia right here. The 700 ml bottle is just under 500 rubles, so about $5 for a bottle, maybe about 7 Australian dollars. Now, that will be very interesting to note what the price is where you live for a bottle of vodka. Plenty of choices of brandies as well. And the other thing too, a lot of them are in smaller size bottles. Not everybody wants a large bottle. They just buy something, you know, just for one occasion, not necessarily put it back in the cupboard for later. And there's some different promotional items. You'll see here the orange signs are generally things that are on a special. So if you use your store card, you get a reduced price, which is always nice. These will change weekly, the promotions, depending on what you might want or what you might be enticed to buy. And here is the famous grab and go fridge with the caviar in. They're meant to have some champagne or vodka in this bottom shelf. Where is it? And this is right next to the register, so you can grab your caviar and head on out of the shop. And just walking around a little bit more, this probably gives you a good idea of the store generally. Lots of cat food. And the dogs aren't really left out. There's a few choices in the corner here. But with a lot of people living in apartments, cat related products are more popular. They've even got in this store, they've got a rack with some magazines and some gossip magazines. Also some crossword puzzles if you want to do some. These big ones down here. If you're really into the crossword puzzles. And the last fridge by the register has ice creams. And even with the cold weather outside, they're still popular. A lot of people still crave an ice cream regardless of the weather. And then just coming to the register, we've got the usual candy. Then the grab and go items here vary a lot in Russia. So you're going to have even like a coffee sachet, the kids' drinks, and they've always got the weekly specials. So these are the main ones that they're promoting for this week. So jars of coffee for about $4 or so. The Ritter chocolate, Raffaello. So this is whatever their current weekly specials and promotions are. And then I've almost done the whole lap of the store. They've got some promotional containers. I love buying something like this every time I see them. My wife doesn't use them nearly enough. The promotional containers. What do we have for candy? I think most of the brands we all know. M&M's, Skittles, Tic Tacs, and then just normal candies at the bottom there. I almost missed this walking in. They've actually got a small barbecue section. So if you want to have a barbecue, now it's not the best arrangement. They've actually got these little pop-up barbecues that you can just put one bag of coals in, buy some skewers to put meat on it, and you can have a temporary barbecue somewhere. They've got the fluid there for lighting it, and have yourself a barbecue. So they've got a couple of cash registers here. Now, depending on the time of day that you would come, the normal way is to come around to the lady over here and do the payment. She gets to sit down on a nice comfy chair. And also behind the register, they've got tobacco and then some of the other alcohols as well. I'm not sure why they just put that small section when actually the alcohol is only 5 steps away. Perhaps it's just certain products that they keep back behind the register. This lady's doing a nice job of looking after the store. As we come to the end of the video, I thought I'd do the ending of the video outside here on the road. I hope it's not too loud. I really hope you enjoyed this walk around of Pyaterochka and what I consider the most typical Russian supermarket there is. There's 20,000 of these in Russia, and there's 65 of them only in this region where I am here in Kaluga. This is actually a really nice store. I hadn't even been in this store before I started filming, so I literally turn up at some location and want to put together a video for you. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this very much like a typical store where you live? Is it somewhere that you'd like to come shopping if you were here in Russia, or would you like one of these stores in your town? Also, I pointed out the price of beer and eggs and milk. How does it compare with where you live? Let me know in the comments also. If you want to join me on Telegram, I'm very active there. I post a lot of my daily travels and trips. There's a link to Telegram right here. And then if perhaps you want to watch an old video on the channel, something you haven't seen before, I'll put a link to a new video right here, and you can keep traveling with Russell. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.